log in.
Okay. We'll call the meeting to order. I guess we can't swear her in.
Right, correct.
Swear in over the internet, huh?
Shouldn't.
Yeah. Approval of minutes.
I make the motion that we approve the minutes.
Second. Motion second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Approval of claims. We have two claims, one from Amazon for the street light for $341.98, one for beer and sleep wall for the Pearl Street parking lot, $60,848.81. Did we already pay something like that, huh?
He approved it, we never paid it.
Okay.
We've been back and forth in negotiations with them.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, so now it's coming out.
We have a total invoices of $61,190.79. Both, or the $341.98 out of the South Benton tip, and the $60,848 is out of the Savings tip.
Motion we pay for the street light and for the Pearl Street parking lot.
Okay. Motion second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Approval of tip management report. I've got, ran out of ink.
That's just, my internal control, just so I have somebody, just, so say whoever comes to say that, you know, I did it, so I got you guys to look at it and you guys approve it.
You don't want to?
Yeah, I don't know what you're looking for.
Well, I just started this year because of, the road company that I need approval. Okay, which, yes.
Yeah, you probably vote on it if you heard the report as written.
I'll make the motion to approve Virginia's report.
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Good working on it. Any new business?
We'll get the whole here. I don't have any.
So I mean, for me, in terms of where we're at with SU1, have you got any updates on it? I know there's a web next week, I think sometime Monday.
No, I haven't heard anything yet from anybody.
I'm wondering about the population limit.
The other thing they toggle or tweak was that they allow all municipalities to participate in the county. Because prior to that, Warsaw was excluded. They were over the population threshold. They could not participate with the rest of them. They removed that.
They did not need to because they could set their own.
They could, but they were actually going to be super upside down if they were required to set their own. They couldn't put the lit high enough to get even close to whole to where they were. Yeah. So the state removed that threshold, and now Warsaw can participate in countywide.
So they can participate, but there was a threshold for.
So you're saying there was a minimum threshold where you could opt in or out. You had to have 3,500 people as of the 2020 census to opt out of the county. That still exists, but they removed the ceiling threshold, but they left the 3,500 in place.
So based on what you said about Warsaw, it would be advantageous for us to be able to set our own.
That's the big debate. I've kind of moved some numbers around. It depends on, they're going to obviously have to change. You know, by the time this rolls around in 2029, as it currently stands, the census numbers are going to be 9 years old. We're almost ready for another census. So they're going to have to make some adjustments to that. What parameters we're even looking at, whether it's the 2020 census or you got to get a special census done, or are they going to wait till the 2030 census? I don't know. But because those numbers are going to be so old by the time it actually comes around, that it's not going to be right. So, yeah, as we stand now, we couldn't raise the lit high enough. The 1.2% is the maximum. We couldn't raise it high enough to be whole. Even if we went to 1.2 with the numbers, the population that we had, we couldn't get back to whole.
So is that 1.2 of somebody's adjusted gross income, or how does that work?
That 1.2% of their, yes. they're just aggressive.
So when we looked at, we've done no projections, right, on ours, and just back of the neck and type stuff.
Yeah, I've done some spreadsheet work, London Whitaker, Jim Higgins is working on an official report for us. We should have that by the end of May. Now that we waited until after all this last legislation was done and they tweaked it as far as they could, the property tax portion of it is not gonna change. That's set in stone. So he can forecast what our property tax revenues are gonna look like out through 2031, when everything comes into effect. The lit is still up in the air, so he's just gonna have to do some best guess work there.
So as it stands for this area, whether it be in town or in the county, because of the amount of property tax that we're pulling because of the lakes, I mean, our impact should be pretty healthy.
Yeah, I just got my tax bill and it went up 13%.
Yeah, I got one that was
So
way
it
up.
had no effect on me.
Well,
It
that was,
actually went the other way.
well, that was gonna be my other question, is like, how are the assessors assessed?
Yeah, it
Because,
was the AV on mine, obviously. It went up like $50,000.
well, if I had one over 200,000,
Yeah,
my
so-
house here was 160,000.
Okay. Cause it's gonna vary. That's why this didn't work.
Yeah.
That's why this didn't work, yeah, because the
My taxes.
communities are not created equal. Syracuse is not the same as Packerton, is not the same as, so it's, they tried to make one size fit all, and they came to realize in a hurry that it doesn't work that way. So our AVs are not going to go down or stay stagnant, they're just not, that's just not our market. But other communities, it may, or, and so they may suffer more than we will as far as property tax revenues. The lit side is where about approximately 40% of our general fund comes from lit. So we have two lit accounts, we have the edit account, and then we have income tax, which goes into our general fund, it's about 40% of the total. So we rely heavily on income tax already, and those are going away, and then they're replacing them with one income tax, and if we can't refill both of those coffers, then we're gonna be down significantly.
So, like, in that, and I'm just curious of what flexibility the assessors have to fudge those numbers to make up for
I don't know. They try to put some controls on that, keep them from over-assessing, but.
Cause I mean, we're getting pretty, I don't know about your houses or any of your guys' houses, but I forget, my assessment's pretty close to like market value.
Mine's getting a lot closer to what most people do.
I think it's supposed to be 20 to 30% less.
I know Mike got it, but I haven't.
This week.
Everybody's about
20% less.
This is my house, the other property, the vacant lots that I have, I've got 3 of them are assessed at 37,000. So 586 is vacant lots. So
hey there, Jennifer.
fairly interesting.
How are ya? Welcome aboard. Good. I'll turn you around so you can see everybody. We're just getting started. They just did some basic housekeeping stuff, passing resolutions. We're talking about SB1 now, so.
So the reason I bring it up, because I think it's pretty important that all of us level set and understand what we're gonna pay and where the revenues are gonna have to come from if we wanna maintain services and the quality of life that we've had for the last, however many decades. And there's some work to be done if we desire to make up for those gaps. Part of my concern is do we really know, and Virginia's kind of brought this up before, but do we really know what our constituencies want? Because if we have to start cutting because of finances, we need to make sure that we're cutting in the right places. And if we're gonna start trying to bring revenue in, then we need to make sure that we're trying to make that as impactful as possible. If we don't know and we're just doing it on what the $5 or $6 think and most council thinks, then it could be a little short-sighted or skewed.
Yeah, and the kind of litmus test, at least in front of us, is the comprehensive plan that was developed 2 years ago. That had community input, council input, everybody had an opportunity to piece, and we've been focusing on that, and we've been working on that plan for the last 4 years. It's a very high level view. There's not a lot of specific call out. It's just, improve pedestrian access, improve parks,
knowing that lit is a huge portion of it, we've got, I mean, it's my opinion, and I'm certainly somewhat biased on this, but we've got to grow. I mean, it's that simple. I mean, all the reading I've done and everything else, you've done, every EDC in the country is like, you better grow or you're dying. So how do we do that? And Jennifer's is one thing that I wanted to ask you with your event experience about, like, what can we do to start pulling the people around the town that aren't in the incorporated area into conversation so that we can maybe annex some of their property, because there's plenty that would have no tax impact, and I don't think that people understand that that's a thing.
When you say in the area, you mean outside the city, but not the Lakers? What
I'm talking about not outside of the town limits, which would be the incorporated area, and into the unincorporated area.
And you're asking how do we get their attention so that we can utilize their land?
What things can we do to bring them into the conversation so that we can educate them on how they can help the town grow without affecting them adversely?
Right. So I've been thinking about this, just in regards to growing revenue in general for the town, more through the lens of the summer demographics. I'd have to rethink it as it relates to the locals, but I think, I mean, the first thing, which we all know, is know your audience and what is it that's going to get them to be engaged. Like, is it beneficial for their families? Are you asking, like, what type of events can we do to get their buy-in, just so that we can form a relationship with them? Are you thinking of fundraising? I guess I just need more clarity on, and maybe it's too soon to tell, but what's the goal?
Well, the end goal for this exercise, kind of focusing on growing the geographic boundaries so that we aren't confined by them anymore, which we are significantly confined at the moment. How do we bring those people into the fold so that they understand they're part of the solution? I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, what's that?
And then get them to share their land.
All they have to do is allow it to be annexed. It's a pretty simple procedure, and it doesn't, if you're assessed agriculture, there's no tax impact if you're annexed into town. And I think a lot of them think that if they get annexed, that their taxes are gonna go up, therefore they don't wanna be a part of the conversation.
Right.
But if we could educate them and make them understand that they may not wanna sell, or they may not wanna develop, or they may not wanna be necessarily, anything but a farmer, but their neighbor might want to, and it might be advantageous to the town, then they might be able to unlock that potential. There's a lot of education that goes into that, but how do we pull parties that have been historically adverse to even talking about it, to engage them, to educate them, so that they can make an informed decision?
I think we have to figure out through their lens what benefits them, so that they'll pay attention. What was anything that we go to them with? That's why I mentioned the family. Meet them where they're at. So we need to get a better sense of what their demographic is, and then maybe it's something that we do at the community center, like things that they would naturally gravitate towards. And I don't think it's something that's going to happen right away. I think it's going to be building those relationships. Maybe it's as quick as 6 months, or 3 months, but it's something that, I mean, my knowledge of people in Syracuse is it's going to take them time to feel safe to trust people that are having conversations with them, and then once they feel they can trust, then there's a lot of collaboration and support, but it's getting that trust. So finding out what interests them, what can we build, what I think an event is a great way in, but what is that would get them to be engaged? I guess we need to know more about what are their interests in general. We know they're like, do we have a demographic?
Well, most of them are farmers, so I think their interest is keeping the farm, which is why they don't want to engage with the town. But keeping the farm doesn't have to affect the town's growth or opportunity if they just are a willing community partner. So how do we bridge that gap?
Just educate me a little bit. What benefits do they get as working with us?
they wouldn't get any benefits, but they also wouldn't have any change. There's no change, but it allows opportunity for the town.
In what way?
So that you could find property that is developable so that we can increase our, just even industrial space, we don't have much left.
Right.
So if with this SEA one, if our revenues go down and we can't grow our industrial base, we can't grow our housing base, we don't generate any more revenue, then our options are gonna be cut.
Right. And we can't grow our housing base up, instead of out.
Vertically?
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 Yeah.
We
I know it's how they feel, but.
we can, I just don't know the unit economics in our area of going vertical and those costs and what that would do to rent. Mark might have some insights into that because he's worked in that space a little bit. What are your thoughts?
I don't think that that's gonna give you the benefit that you're looking for here. The cost of building multifamily right now is prohibitive with the way that, financing, the interest rates right now. And some of the blockades that builders are running into with HUD right now. So, yeah, at this particular point, multifamily is probably not a good option. I like when Jennifer said, what benefits them? If I'm Farmer Green down here and I have, a piece of property and you want to, annex it into the city, my question is, what do I get out of it?
Well,
I'm self-serving.
Yeah, it depends on if it's their primary residence versus just a open field that they land.
Yeah.
If it's their primary residence, they become a citizen of the community and they get all the rights of citizenship, holding office, voting, et cetera. And obviously access to our utilities regardless if they become a member of the community. So those are like the quick gains if it's their primary residence. Even if it's a farm field, they still get access to all our services and utilities. They just can't hold office or vote or anything like that. So as far as gains on their side, those would be the early, the low hanging fruit.
I think a lot of it, really a lot of it for those folks is, in my opinion, is altruism. And they have to understand, we have a school corporation that population is declining. And there's many factors to that, but if we don't have a school system that is thriving, we won't be able to pull people into our district. I just had a conversation with a couple of very smart folks that are doing well in the region that are interested in moving to Syracuse full time, and they did their diligence on all the numbers, and all they can see is the snapshots of what they can find online and what they can find from the testing, but that's not really representative of our community, unfortunately. So if that's all people are seeing, it's not overly attractive. If they understand the totality, then it's very attractive. So if we don't have the ability to help our school system as a community, then we're putting ourselves, I think, at a pretty severe disadvantage for the future. And these people that are outside, maybe their kids, maybe their families are grown or whatever, but I still think that a lot of people can understand that there's value in that. I think Mark's right. What's in it for me? I think they need to understand that what's in it for them is being a part of the community and positively impacting the community through being a good partner.
What's happened in the past when we've approached the farmers?
Some of that goes. I don't think there's been a lot of effort in the last several years, but
Yeah. I've talked to a couple of them here and there, and it kind of sounds like the same kind of reception as in previous. They're just like, not today, not tomorrow. They just are not really open-minded to it at all, no matter how you tell it to them or explain it to them. But why? They live in the country, they want to stay in the country, and come use our services. So.
Well, that's the other side of it. As you know, Jennifer, the population or the borders are pretty tight. I mean, geographically, we're not a very big town. But like David just said, a lot of people come and use the town. So now we're gonna get crunched on revenue. Everybody's gonna want everything to stay as good as it has been, but at the same time, we're gonna have less dollars and less contributors. So it's like, okay, so now it's the opportunity for the people that have been utilizing those resources without paying into them to participate. But some of these people that I'm talking about won't have to. You know, I mean, the people that are the big landholders around the town, like, they wouldn't see a tax increase if they annex.
I think this is me just thinking creatively. Perhaps we lean into their legacy and a little bit of ego and how they would be represented with their family and within the town, and maybe there's a way to give them a plaque or like acknowledgement and like bricks in the downtown or something that has their name on it that they can go to and see year after year, and it's like Mr. Smith owned this farm and he offered his land to be part of Syracuse and enhance Syracuse overall, and because of that, part of the, like, I don't know, we could come up with the name of it, and then they would be featured on the plaque, and that's something that they could then feel good about. Like, if we can't give them something, meet them where they're at as farmers or their land, maybe it's something that relates to their legacy. Like I said, I'm just thinking creatively, like just connecting these and spark something, that maybe that's an angle we could explore.
I think that's a good thought, because that reminds me of the land grant colleges back in the 1800s and how those expanded across the United States, and the philanthropy that was involved in that, you know, was very impactful generationally.
Yeah.
And in my experience, the one thing that I've asked, and I'm not saying that we need to develop a ton of farm ground or anything like that, but we've got to at least open up people's minds of understanding that we have to grow, or we're going to force a reduction in services. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Or maybe we give them acknowledgement at the schools. You know, there's like a plaque on the wall of the schools so that all of their grandkids or their nieces and nephews can say that their names are on there. And then I was thinking, I don't know if this is, again, very top line because I don't know enough of the details yet, but to your point, is there some sort of fee or something that we can get people that use our services to pay into, but it will add value for them. So if it's, I mean, people are paying for apps, they're paying for online programs, so if we just pay this much every month, then that will go towards a big gala, and we get music, like whatever it is that they're interested in, we'll bring to light, but it won't cost us as much as what they're paying in. Or they get like front of the line somewhere, or just something that gets them feeling like they're important, but also it's driving revenue to help us. And I mean, it has to, we have to think about it and make it more strategic than that, but I'm just trying to think of ways to get people to lean in and feel like they're participating, and it becomes more of that community piece. Because in my opinion, Syracuse can become pretty insular, and it's unfortunate because everyone just kind of stays within their groups or with their family, you know, how they've been generational.
Well, and I think I mean, I don't think we're going to solve it all today, but it's just something I wanted to bring up and make sure that this organization is thinking of it, because I don't think that this is a singular problem. I mean, this is a community issue. I mean, it affects the schools, it affects the towns, it's going to affect the county. I mean, these changes are going to affect this area very hard because of the lakes. And to your point, it is very insular because we have two premier bodies of water, you know, in the Midwest where people come to use it and not do much else. And so they aren't really a part of the community. And now one of their biggest assets that we've been able to get to leverage, which is property tax dollars, is going away. Or sliding that way, with the ultimate goal is to get property tax to go away. I mean, I know that. So if you take that value away and they're not contributing to the local economy, you know, 12 months a year, we've got to plan for that and figure out how to position ourselves so that people want to come and live here 12 months a year. I mean, really for me, it's wanting to get more people like you that are, remote workers, or doing high percentage of travel to make this their, rather than 10 weeks a year, make it a 10-month a year home, which would be a huge improvement.
I mean, for people like me, and I've had this conversation with friends of mine that have either grown up in the area or that I've brought into it and they love it so much, people want to stay. They want to live here. I think I'm not even there, but in my mind I am. But we need to be very frank, and I think I'm stating the obvious. We need to bring in more culture in some way. Maybe provide lift work places for people. Have different moments throughout the year, so it's not always in the summer, which we do with the solar plants and different things that Oakland's doing. And then, secondly, and you probably all already know all this, but I was surprised when I learned it, and it makes so much sense. I was at the Chamber of Congress a few years ago during COVID, because I was looking at doing a big concert in Syracuse, and what I learned was we usually can't get any big stores or chains in Syracuse because they look at, to your point, they look at the overarching revenue that the town brings in, and if we don't bring in enough to justify, that's why we lost the media, I call it the media, that's why we lost that and we didn't get a replacement, because we don't have the revenue record of revenue for the full year to justify the change. And I don't know if we want change, but I'm just saying things that can add that value that we're talking about.
Well, I mean, the reality is it doesn't matter if it's a chain or if it's a small business. If they can't make enough money to survive, they're not going to stay here. They're going to go somewhere else. So, yeah, how do we make it more attractive? I think arts and culture is a huge one. You know, from the research that I've done, a lot of research is out there to support that you're better to, as a town, to invest in arts and culture than you are to get tax abatement corporations. I mean, I think that's something that we need to look at, you know, and get some understanding of what level of that is required in order to get a watershed moment where it changes the tide of your local economy. I don't know the answers to that, but these are the kinds of things that I think that we should be focused on in these meetings, because it's critical, and the world's going to change very rapidly here over the next 5 to 10 years.
And does the same thing. I think that with Airbnb and the house prices that we have, and people that are coming to the lake more and more now because of Airbnb, it's going to change fast, in my opinion. It's going to change fast. If we don't get a hold of it now, we're going to lose it, and we're going to be put in a reactionary position, and we're not going to be able to shape it and support the town as a whole, the community. That's sort of like a river that suddenly just starts flowing in different directions, and we sort of lose the ability to channel that. But and that's my opinion, but I think it's a really exciting time, and I love that we're having these conversations, because that's what I'm thinking is resonant of what you are thinking, because that means it's changing.
Well, you've got some good history, you know, from what I've learned just from you sharing, that can help on the people, I think, side, and give us some vision of how to be more than bricks and mortar and infrastructure to benefit bricks and mortar and infrastructure. And I think it's important that we kind of consider that in the decisions that we're making going forward, because quality of life is becoming more and more important. I mean, David, the conferences you go to and the stuff that we get governmentally, you know, a lot of times talks about quality of place is trumping jobs. And people will go to a quality of place before they're worried about the job. So they'll research a place and they'll try and find a job in the area rather than go wherever the employer hires them and they get put.
Right.
So if we've got that flexibility, then we need to position ourselves as one hell of a quality place that's not what they have on the coast or in the mountains, you know, what we are and what we can leverage, which is, you know, reasonable living expenses, some level of proximity and good natural resources that are, you know, the lake.
I'd be curious to know what your friends found out when they were doing research about the school systems and just how Syracuse measured up to other towns and what those towns are doing versus us.
I think part of it is based on the numbers, but the numbers are kind of misrepresented because the school corporation is such a homogeny of 3 different towns that are very different. But if you break it down and you highlight the things that the school system does really well, like career and technical education, the super mileage team, the new performing arts center, some other programs and, sports that the school has that aren't your mainstream stuff that we are good at, puts a different lens on it, but you've gotta do almost one-on-one education because people don't find that, those aren't the things that grab headlines. And negativity does over everything, so anytime there's negativity that, you know, that's the front page and the awards and stuff are page 6. So how do we move the needle in that regard to highlight more of what we're doing great and less of the stuff that, you know, people wanna talk about that really doesn't move the needle either way?
I mean, I think we could do, my opinion again, I think we could do a better job of defining the narrative and marketing ourselves, to people that come in the summer, people that are here year round, people that are considering moving. I think it's hard to get information about Syracuse if it's not really a consolidated place. The app that I believe David built is a great starting place, and we have things on Facebook, but just like, what do we want to be known for and how do we want to push that out and educate people, and then just planting those seeds in different ways, and we all stay on point with that message. It's one of several things that we need to work on, to get people to come here and build revenue, but I think that's something that we could improve upon, and it should come from the town, instead of letting other people do it.
So one takeaway, I think, and maybe we can all agree on this, can we all take away what she just said, what do we want to be known for? Take a month to think about it for next meeting and have 3 to 5 things that each of us as individuals think that the town should be known for or offer, and then discuss them and try and refine. Is that fair? Is anybody interested in doing that?
I'm interested to see what other people say, like different age groups and different people from different groups.
I mean, even that point, maybe we do 3 and we ask somebody else that's in a different demographic than we are for what they say, so that we can try and get maybe a little bit bigger pool and a little bit more diverse pool of initial data.
I mean, I think polling the town, people in the town, on what they would like to see Syracuse, offer would be helpful. However, I say this with caution, you can probably hear it in my voice, because I don't want to mislead them and have them think that is going to happen. Like, I don't know if we can deliver on that, but just getting a sense of different people throughout the area and what does value look like to them. So we're making educated decisions.
I've talked a lot, so I'm going to talk, but this is something I think is important.
I'll send over this link to that, and then I'll talk to you too. It is very easy to make polls on Google Docs. I don't know how to do it, but I know people that do know how to do it, so I think it could be something that we could either send out or put on the app and just let people lean into it, or the QR code at the grocery store, and anybody can participate in it, and we're collecting information. I don't want them to think that we asked that question and now they're gonna get a big pool community, like, I don't know, I think it'd be very valuable, and caveat it, say, we're just taking the temperature, but I don't know if that will stick.
David, has the community foundation or anybody else in the county done anything like that?
I can find out, not that I recall seeing the kind of, you know, there's been housing studies and things like that, but I'm not sure about amenity studies per se. Yeah.
Oh, I call it.
Yeah, I could ask, for sure. That David already got with it.
Well, I think it's interesting that there's been so many housing studies done that there isn't something like that, because the quality of life piece is so big and so talked about. Like, great, we know we need housing, stop doing those and ask the next question so that we can figure out.
Like 3 or 4 of those in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Quit studying it, we know there's a problem.
I'm gonna be the contrarian for a minute.
Okay.
We do a poll, or we determine what people want. Syracuse to be known for, and we suddenly start finding people that wanna move here. Where are they gonna live?
Well, that's a good problem to have, though.
Well, not if it takes too long to get the homes for them, because then they'll lose interest and go someplace else.
Sure.
Or
So-
even just having people come to the town, you know, I feel like our town is, there's no, I know she said Polo Plunge, yes, that's a fun thing to do, but other than that, I don't see us having anything fun to do. I think the 4th of July thing's gonna be a blast, you know, but other than that, I think we need to have like a regular thing every single year, so people are get excited about coming. Like Northwestern, when I was a kid, went to Mermaid Festival, that was so much fun. That was a thing we did every single year, every summer, and now it's like dying down, but people are still going to it, you know, not a lot, but it's still there.
Well, then we're gonna get I'm pretty confident, we're gonna get a huge influx of new tourists with the RDC.
Oh, sure.
We're gonna get a huge influx, and they're gonna be reporting back to their comrades of do or don't, you know, visit this place, so.
But it would also be nice if we beautified the town. We need to. Our downtown, you look at Napanee, you look at Wakarusa, it's beautiful. They beautified, our town, downtown is not very pretty. I've lived here all my life. It would be nice just to have some sort of, like what you said, art. But you said, you know, we need to put some art in town, you know, make it look beautiful. So people are like, oh my gosh, Syracuse downtown is gorgeous, you know?
Well, our downtown kind of shifted, right, when the village got bigger, so now we're split, you know, 'cause the majority of people spend their time over here, whereas this is up here and quickly passed through on 13. So it's a very different
When people
feel.
come down to eat, you know, there's, Lakeside,
Oh, yeah,
there's the hub, there's, West
There's a lot
Main,
there.
there's
details.
the, movie
Several
place,
places,
yeah,
there's several places to hang out and relax. And
downtown, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to do there.
The other problem you're gonna have too is very, very nice, there's not parking. There's just not, when you have West Main open, down under, Lakeside, we've got a big movie, there is nowhere to park.
Even with municipal lots, they're all full up.
It's a good problem to have, but it's, what do you do about that?
Right, we need,
But
again,
this will be really.
the ground, there's
everything's
the
going-
available ground problem. Where else can we build, you know?
But beautification is another thing. A lot of friends that we've had come into this town, and we go to other lake communities, and it just like wows you. Here it's like, what's wrong with your town?
Yeah.
Well, the village is the Lake Village is an example. It's beautiful.
That's one of the.
Yeah, but that was
It was designed
beautiful because of one guy.
Yeah, it was designed to be that way.
So if we got somebody here that wants to give $100 million,
Right.
we could probably make some things happen, that'd be great, but we
Oh.
gotta reach them.
Yeah, you gotta reach them.
Make some calls.
Well, I was
But
like,
even
yeah,
if we
that's
did just small things, you know, just small things to make the town look beautiful, you know?
We're taking
Every
money
year,
where we can,
yeah.
but we need an overarching
well,
program.
and my whole point is, we need to do that while funding is gonna probably decrease.
Well, another thing that you were talking about, you know, how do we get revenue? And I've talked about this, I think, with you and some of the council members. You know, the town spends, I would say, $300,000 on trash. That we pay for. With other communities, you know, the residents pay for it. So why aren't we letting the residents pay for the trash instead of the town paying for the trash?
Well, but again, those are some of the trade-offs that people have to understand, like, because otherwise they're coming back, now they have to pay for something, so they're losing. And it, you know, so you gotta get a good understanding of what is really important.
If a property is annexed, do they get trash collection? If they're annexed, do they get sewer and water?
And water.
It's both
Well,
sides.
and yeah,
Maybe yours.
Most of the lake has sewers. Not,
Yeah.
farm land, we talk about, but I mean,
Around the water.
that's what my question on North Shore, tax rate is, and you have a house that outside the town limits, that's worth 2 to 3 times on the house, and they're paying less than what I'm paying in taxes. Why is that? What makes that difference? I mean, I know why it is within the town limits, but what am I getting for paying that much more in taxes? In this case, sitting on a $3 million house down the street that's $10 bucks.
You live in my house, you didn't get water or sewer, so I get trash, that's it. So for $3,000 a year, I get trash.
So that's, I pick up my grass and my sticks for.
If I gotta pay for trash, I'm not, that's the point, like, you gotta understand, or get some consensus, because you're gonna get pushback from some people, because they're not gonna see any value, like, I gotta pay for my trash now, I don't care about the canoe with flowers in it, whereas other people are like, that makes it look better, so, you know, there's gonna be people on both sides of it, and we're not gonna make everybody happy, but we gotta do it, that's for the future.
Is there a particular area, if you mentioned industrial, is there a particular area that somebody thinks is ripe for industrial development?
So, a couple of years ago, there was a study group I was part of, just countywide, not countywide, but Milford, County RDC, the 1300 corridor, Milford, was studied extensively. That's the industrial corridor. It's kind of the decision. North side of the highway by the track is industrial, south side is more residential. So we kind of left the decision was kind of heated that way. So that whole corridor north of the between the tracks is been eyeballed, earmarked, and studied for industrial growth. So that would be as far as that goes. That would be the area.
That's a long way out there for us to.
Well, I mean, if Hollywood is the western boundary, if you start there and go westbound, that's our industrial corridor. Then same for Milford, they got, the ag plant and stuff, they come eastbound, they build them those, and Rocky Jordan on those.
Well, very true point.
And there's already, the county has 2 tips out there already, they come from the edge of Milford to the edge of Hollywood, and those are county RDC control those tips currently. They're open-minded to releasing those if we expand that way.
But to your point earlier, like, it only does so good to continue to try and create jobs if we don't have places to house people,
Right.
because we need the lit revenue.
And do we want it to be an industrial complex, like we're already want to be a resort, lake, natural resources, type community versus an industrial base?
I mean, I'll tell you what I'd like to see. I mean, the world is going very technologically advanced. We don't need to be coal fire plants and everything else, but there's some very high tech advanced businesses that would be awesome to have in our community that are high paying, that aren't what people think of industry, but are very global and very advanced technologically, that would fit into an industrial complex, but not be what people think of traditionally in this area as industrial. I'm not talking like Steel Dynamics or something like that. And I want to see high tech jobs.
Go ahead.
But I'm just curious, what companies are you thinking of?
Well, I mean, it could be a number. I mean, it could be something along the lines of, I mean, I know of a company in particular that's in what they call physical AI, that builds robotic systems to go into plants to help them be more automated. So they're hiring AI programmers, very advanced technologists, but they've also told me that they can take kids that are right out of high school and train them. And these are people that are, marketable in Silicon Valley. Well, if we can have those, we have some of these kids graduated from our high school. So why are we letting them leave? We need to bring employers that can keep those kids here.
I mean, I will say, as someone who doesn't fit the demographic that probably fits the lifestyle a little bit, the challenges that I have, especially if I was younger, they would probably be even more so, is it's very hard to get to other places from Syracuse. Chicago's 2.5 hours drive, but you have to drive to South Bend, and then you take the train or you drive straight there. There's no direct flight to New York City. There's and that's
agree, and I think the thing to think about with that is, you know, if you travel a lot, you'll understand, but think like Waymo. You know, we are not far from that going more mainstream. And when you have that capability to get that 2.5 hours, it's not that big a deal anymore because you're sitting in your car pounding out on your laptop for 2.5 hours being productive, and all of a sudden you're at the terminal getting on the plane like you would have been if you drove from the suburbs. We are not far from that. We need to start planning for that eventuality so that we are competitive because nobody else is going to be thinking that. Not in a rural environment. And we're equidistant from Fort Wayne and South Bend and Indy and Chicago, which makes it even better because from a get to a place, if it's not direct from O'Hare, maybe it's direct from Indy, and it's equidistant. So that gives people more of a reason to live here. That's why they call it the Cross Roads of America. Sure.
I just had that conversation with the gentleman who owns a lot of buildings in downtown Warsaw. He was saying he was looking forward to Rivian, or no, Tesla, the self-powering Tesla cars, just create a circuit from Warsaw.
Oh, yeah. I buy a cyber bus or whatever, their van. I mean, that's a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, we need to get moving on, good discussion. Any other new business? Review. Old business.
Quick report from Mark on your, tech park license, that'll conclude everything we got.
Gonna give it its first all-night burn tonight. So, we ran the battery, completely discharged the battery, it was completely charged by 10 a.m. So, we'll see how it lasts. Any other old business? Motion adjourned?
Motion.
Second. Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna cut off to the next meeting.
You're supposed to stay.
All right. All right, see you later.
Yeah, it's done by 9:25.
I had copies for all of them, okay? And I didn't get that far, we were basically going, I mean, those are going, I think.
No, you're good.
Well, I
gotta let Bill in, Bill hovering out there in cyberspace.
Another day. Yeah. It is. Real good.
Another day at paradise.
Living the dream, wake me up.
It's three things.
Sometimes we work on employee contract.
Oh, did you see the, it's a report that is,
Friday for an appointment.
the annual report.
Vacation.
Just personal control.
I'm going to do Monday, Tuesday. I'm going to turkey house for money fun.
Never, then, how is okay, turkey hunt.
I saw that. I actually sent that around to my coworkers. Because you kind of have to look at, I know some of them big things and they like, well, no, that was because Court Maxon didn't see that I gave him the life assignment that were due last Friday. And so sometime after, shortly after Friday, right now, because I went right to
Yeah, there's some thing right.
let's call it.
How you doing? Good. You good?
Everything going on?
Yeah.
I had to tell you before.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not.
Here.
Absolutely, yeah. Everyone's awakening, the weather's maybe getting low.
Everybody's getting excited.
Start getting used to this new good there. So, we're not watching people in town.
I bet. It looks like you guys are practicing again.
Super Mario's been good movie for us.
I think they can next year. That's what
We were good, and let's do this weekend with Michael Jackson. Whatever they're doing, but it's kind of his life. And that's the starring at him. It wasn't too far off. Maybe Jermaine's son, one of his brother's kids. Get good reviews, but it's projecting so we get the Devil Wears Prada after that. So
that's a good one to take your wife in.
Yeah, the Star Wars. I'm excited about the Star Wars one. We haven't had a Star Wars one for 5 weeks.
Oh, they got a new one?
I think Mandalorian, that series they brought out, or they made it into a movie. The Mandalorian Rogue One. That's the big Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, that'll be cool.
That'll be. And then.
David's not here.
You look up on YouTube, that's his nose. That Toy Story for the kids that come out mid-June.
He's having issues with the camera.
Oh, that's
That's my own thing.
Because you can only do one, right?
Every 2 to 3 week contract, they're trying to make somebody cool, things like that. For 1 year. Like,
Yeah.
for a community like this, everyone's going to want to come see it in person. This is how you have the 10, 14 budgets, they're looking for screen time, it's still, but for us, we don't put things out every 2 to 3 weeks max. And then we'll go, might as well shut down. That's crazy. Yeah, but, big companies and how they don't actually local, they're going to give that you're finished. I'm there's some different rules for same screen people. All that kind of thing. Because, we've got 1 week, so let's have them actually days.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be based on the number of screens.
Yep. But they don't.
And then
Yeah.
with the ticket change.
We just tried to, years ago, we tried, I know it's the water draw and Harlan and the other thing you're in there. You know, the first time I come out, it was cool. Man, that water makes some of my grandkids, I grew up.
And then go out to the.
It's like, it's cool to hear those. Harlan, the first movie go back to the 60s or 70s. That's pretty cool. So we just hope they can, because there's so many of them for real. That one closed down. Working is for sale. So, I don't know if that is, that's a tough industry. I mean, I'm looking at church for a buck a pop. And,
Yes, crazy. Is that
very little. They're taking the majority. And,
that's what I was.
That's where you make your money, and so it kills you when you see people working the band are just the rate the same, it's their prerogative, but thanks for the 30 cents.
I think one time where bowling alley that used to be there, still under there somewhere.
There's an alley, there's a walkway down there somewhere, but I don't know exactly that. I've never went down in there. It's there somewhere, there's a little hole in the walk through and get down there. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I always thought you didn't go back, there was a door that was off to this side of Main Street there. That on the front, I think if we took that front off, that was still a door was there, I think. Because that's where the stairway goes. I was thought we could clear like
yeah.
down there. We have a blast with the other towns.
Oh, really? That's pretty cool. That's right.
We'll see. But no, that's still there, but I always thought they take a look at it sometime and see if that's even an option. Or do that, that would be cool.
It was in, you get a cold, something that then you walk down an alley and there's a guy sitting there, just rolling, shot him in the cold, and they let you in.
We were invited to Atlanta, they advertised there, but they could go, those guys in the doorway. You get in. I think so. You gotta have the door open back in the whole home, where it's silent, back in, walk through it. That is just different.
That's cool, yeah.
That's really it's amazing. So, it's on the thinking.
Yeah, we heard that. I called it in before Summers even came out. I called Summers. I couldn't finish running out of buildings up to the spot. And then the teachers came out and like, well, I walked the entrances of the school.
Gonna call the meeting to open.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Larry's not coming. So Paul just throw it in the corner. Yeah.
They come pick you up, Bill?
I'm all set to go. We're hesitating because we don't have a quorum. What happened to Paul?
We're not sure.
No. Number 3 on the agenda is public comment. Comments from the floor, agenda items only, 2 minutes per speaker, 10 minutes total. Anybody have any item they'd like to speak on? If you do, stand up and say your name. So next is the approval of minutes, but we can't do that. Virginia, these are some minutes.
But it's only me for that.
They have to vote it through, they have to approve.
What they do?
I just texted you, so,
Yeah.
I'll make that motion to move number 5 for our next meeting here, I guess, or 5. Or not 5, 6.
Skip 5 and go to 6. Yeah.
yeah, as the chair, you would be entitled to do that without a motion.
Okay.
You may rearrange agenda items.
All right, so we're gonna go straight to the council presentation. You wanna go ahead?
I'm the CASA representative, and I apologize. I'm a total newbie, so I don't even know what the procedure is here, if I need to.
You wanna introduce yourself and tell us
Okay.
a little bit about?
CASA? Okay, perfect. So I am Donna Bowen-Scott. I am here, representing, the court-appointed special advocate, team in Warsaw, or in Kosciuszko, based mainly in Warsaw, Indiana. So, you may not, be that familiar with them, but, the, main reason why CASA is wanting to talk today is because that April is the Child Abuse Prevention Month, and being a nonprofit organization, we are committed to the best interest of children who are at risk for abuse and neglect. We recruit, train, and support the volunteers to serve at-risk children in our family court system. In 2025, there were 1,555 reports of abuse and neglect, and 89 children were removed from homes due to this abuse and neglect. And the CASA volunteers donated over 5,300 hours of their time advocating for 215 children. Child abuse and neglect can have obviously long-term psychological, emotional, and physical effects that have lasting consequences for victims of abuse. And it is imperative that we are working as a collective community and acquiring the working knowledge of the phenomenon of child abuse and neglect, and demonstrate the support for work of both professional volunteers involved in providing child protection, rehabilitation, and preventative services. Our city officials, I know David Wilkinson received this, and he's going to be, if he hasn't already, signed this proclamation. And it is extremely important that all of our citizens of Kosciuszko recognize this month by dedicating ourselves to improving the quality of life for children and families of all Kosciuszko County. I will say that our biggest need is truly in CASA volunteers. We actually have 20 children currently in need of CASA support, and it is very sad fact that it continues to grow, the needs of these children across our community. And being from Syracuse, a lifelong resident of Syracuse, I can say that Syracuse is one of the areas in Kosciuszko where we have the largest need for those volunteers. So, sorry if that was too long. That's my gist, and I think that's it for CASA. If anyone has any questions, please let me know.
I was just gonna say on behalf of the board and the community, wanted to thank you for everything. I was involved with Milford School for many years, and we used the CASA volunteers, and I have some retired friends that you probably know.
Yes.
They're now volunteers.
Yes, I know many volunteers from the local schools, and,
It's definitely a need.
there is a huge need, and, it is very rewarding, and, I know it, takes some time, but, a very rewarding initiative, so, yes. And, yes, Mrs. Kaiser, I remember you from school, so. Thank you.
My wife
Called me Mrs. Kaiser.
My wife is
Yes.
a trained counsel for the county, and I think it's important that people understand that it's somewhat flexible, right? I mean, my wife had a lot of flexibility in what cases she took and,
Yes.
and how they were, and it wasn't as cumbersome as I think she had initially committed to. It was a little bit easier than she thought it would be to have the flexibility that she desired, and I think it's super important that people understand that, so that the volunteer numbers maybe could go up, so people don't feel like it is a sacrifice, but it's not, I don't think it's as onerous as people kind of envision in their heads, and I would encourage people to reach out to you and explore the opportunity to participate, because the need is great.
Yes, exactly, and, you are exactly right that it is not, maybe maybe the huge time commitment that folks, envisage. You know, we advertise, or we say, roughly 5 to 10 hours, a month is, kind of a general guidance of the time that you need to be involved with it. But if anyone is interested, you know, go to the CASA website, so the CASA Tazewell County website, and it gives tons of information, and our next training session will be in June. So definitely looking for those volunteers, and anyone that can help out is very, very appreciated. So.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong too, I think it's important for people to understand that they don't just get the cases by lottery, they can have some level of input on what type of children or what kind of circumstances they're willing to participate in, so they don't have to feel like they're gonna get into some uncomfortable situation, they've got some say in that, correct?
Exactly, and you also, there are, some cases that involve, you know, siblings, so you may have, cases where, there's 3, siblings that you would be the CASA representative for, which would be much more involved. You don't have to be the person to take that one on, you can be one, for the, I guess, less severe or less time commitment, overall. So, yes, you're exactly right. It's not, something that you are just told, hey, here are your cases, you know, you can say, I think I'll be able to do this one, but, you can pick and choose, if you will.
And then given that we are a community of some transient population, is a CASA certification in Tazewell County as good as CASA certification in Marion County, or?
Good question. I'm not 100% sure on that. I believe so, but, I can double check and get back to you on it.
But conceivably, it could be possible for somebody that's here 6 months a year to still serve our community in that way.
Yeah. I'll check with, our executive director, Erin Whalen, she'll know, and I will let David know. I'll pass that information on from Jimmy. I know you guys were both involved with, setting this up, so, yeah. Great
Thank you for all
question.
you do.
Yeah. Thank you guys for letting us be here. Thank you.
I'm going to go over the Arbor Day proclamation. I told Nate I forgot my glasses tonight, so Just read the box. I think I don't really have to read those things, right?
Anything in?
Ted,
What? I didn't hear you.
Arbor Day.
do I read the whole?
You can do what you wanna
Can I have
do.
live here?
I think Nate last year read it, Bill a couple of years ago just said Arbor Day is scheduled for whatever.
I just.
Whatever you feel comfortable with. You signed it, we're good.
Towards the bottom, it says, now therefore, I, Cindy Kaiser, President of Town Council, Syracuse, Indiana, do hereby proclaim April 24th, 2026 is Arbor Day in the town of Syracuse. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant and care for trees, to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Dated the 21st day of April for the year 2020.
Good job.
Yeah. I'll just pass it down to you.
Essentially setting a tree on fire is probably contrary.
Not what I meant.
We have to skip,
Yeah, we're gonna go down to Commonwealth Ave for now.
it's gonna be a nice quick meeting, The next one would be long. Go ahead.
Okay, Kirby, sent a memo, David, and you passed it out to council
Yeah.
members. I'll be glad to answer any questions, attempt to answer any questions. It's quite a lengthy, memo's got a lot going on here in the county, which we appreciate the engineering. We did have one little boo-boo in that, the 2025 CCNG, got pay application number 1 for Senator Brown, didn't make it in time to get in the last meeting. So we need to ask the board, when you have a board, a full board, to, vote on that, pass that. Otherwise, I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have on this. Things are moving along.
I'll bring that all three guys, we'll put up a digital $150.
Jeopardy. Jeopardy.
Right on. That's why $1.
The, 25 CCMG project should be, closing out here soon, and, the next CCMG, for 27 will be coming later on this summer for board approval and move forward on it. Am I correct in that assumption, Virginia?
I don't have any questions. Yeah, we have to. We'll go ahead to department reports. David?
You know, I'll do what I can here. Any questions about my report?
Why don't you just tell us a little bit about the graphic artist lab?
Okay,
For
so,
people that don't make up
yeah,
committees.
so, we have a subcommittee called the Beautification Committee. If myself and Virginia, Chad is on it, community members, Brandon from the chamber. Basically, we just, look for ways to enhance the community, the flower pots in the summer, the better banners, those sorts of things are kind of what we are currently working on. We're always open to new ideas and challenges. One of the, members came up with the idea to, at each stoplight intersection, NDOT has these metal control boxes. I don't know if you've noticed them or not when you're driving around. They're outside of that table. NDOT does allow to decorate them with, like vinyl wrap. And so we're exploring some options and opportunities to put some sort of designs on them. Brent's done a lot of research on that side. Probably at least in the uptown ones, We're probably gonna put some sort of historical pictures of the actual uptown, downtown from the last couple centuries. We thought that would be a good fit for up there. We're down through the village, we're still exploring opportunities and options, probably leaning more on the lake down that way, but, hopefully we'll have some designs up and ready and done before summer's over. We're still kind of exploring it, so that's kind of where we're at on that.
I had a question, David, on in my packet, I don't recall seeing the building code inspector's report.
Yeah, it should have been in there. It was included.
Yeah. It's, I copied it with the Tom man.
With his report.
Yeah, it should have been.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's a separate, it's a separate thing.
I don't think we have it. Unless it was his report.
I have a copy if you want my copy.
Sure, we'll look at it.
Here, you can have my copy.
You got a copy?
Well, you can give them to me.
Okay.
I apologize for that.
That's okay.
More than it was in there.
Oh, no.
No, if you're, you might have to be able to download these after your later.
Questions on that?
Hey, look, it's coming arrival.
Should we clap?
Better late than never.
Okay. I don't want to hear it.
No, we're glad you're here. I think we'll keep going from this department.
So, we got your electronic package ready to go, they're in front of you, probably easy to walk through them individually. It's very simple, right? Everything is there, the keypad and the iPad is there, the program is set up, so it's just a matter of walking you through it, it's very simple. I laid some, a picture in front of you before the meeting, a couple years ago when the library and the town agreed to the Golden Street property, there was another section of property that the town owned, that the library is, interested in accepting if the town is willing to donate it to them. They've got a verbal agreement for the two lots next to it to expand their parking footprint, and so taking that piece of ground would just be a natural fit. Otherwise, we have to maintain it, and we don't really have a use for it. We have no utilities there.
Didn't we talk about it before?
We talked about it. It's just the board was trying to decide, and that they have secured the other lot, so they are willing to accept it if you're willing to donate it.
You said the lot outline is red.
Yes, correct.
And Mark, there's nothing there that's gonna.
Grass mow.
And it'll be an island among itself once the library is built. It will just be a little grass plot that is surrounded by the library.
Does anybody have any questions about that? Motion?
The only question that I have is, Jay, so the drainage easement,
The short answer to that is sometimes yes, sometimes no.
so really the reality of even doing anything like this.
It'd be a stroke.
Okay. All I need to know.
Motion?
Donate this property.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. So we have a motion and a second to donate this little corner to the library. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
David, do you know if you have a legal for that description or that?
I do not, I'll have to get one, so I'm gonna get a contract or whatever. I've been working with, we've had this, bit of information or bit of, pricing that needed to get worked out, with engineering and construction company on the Pearl Street parking lot. We had to make some revisions and it added a lot of cost to the parking lot. I've had many conferences with them. I told you at the last, a couple meetings ago that their best last final offer was $8,500. You asked me to explore it a little further. Jay and Mark and Jeremy and I all had a conversation. Jay can enlighten you, but, basically our recommendation is that we accept that and just move on. So if you have any questions from the legal side, Jay can explain why.
Remind me what we incurred as an expense to this person.
Our expense was essentially $65,000 in additional construction.
Oh, this is a fixed deal.
Correct. The one that was, the Pearl Street one that was done a couple years ago, and then
I've
we're,
already moved on.
yeah. I'm trying to close Pearl Street out so they can move on to Main Street, so. But, so our recommendation is to just accept their offer of $500 and call it closed.
So 65,000, and you said additional construction, so is that, my understanding that should have been done to begin with?
That's the debate that we've had. The construction plans that they drew up that we approved, did not work. The fact that turning radiuses were just too tight. And so to rework that, they came back with a fix that was $8,500. We didn't like their fix and we expanded upon it. That's where the $65,000 came on. We took things a lot further back and moved the curve back a lot more than they wanted to do. And so that's the variance, the delta between the two prices.
Jay, do you have anything to add?
I agree. We had this meeting and I agree with, we discussed all the possibilities, the potential, arguments on each side, the legal costs involved, the litigation thing, and came to the conclusion that, yeah, I think you should accept it. I don't think it's perfect, but I think it's the best resolution you're gonna get.
I'm glad you have help. Any other discussion? You want to make a motion? The $8,500 would go to?
Just go back to the general fund.
That's the general fund.
Right.
Make that motion.
That's it. All in motion? Second. All in favor? Aye.
Kind of new and it's popped up. The town here, as known, down here at the end, along the ramp. It has been the property essentially of the Chamber of Commerce for recent history. The town carries liability insurance on it. The Chamber of Commerce would like to part ways with their involvement in the town pier. So I guess my recommendation would be that the town just absorb it as another part of our infrastructure. Like they were already carrying the liability insurance on it, parks essentially maintain the entire area. So it would just be a matter of accepting the pier and the responsibility to go with it.
So, you say the pier, not real estate.
Just,
We own the real estate?
yeah, the parks already owns the real estate up to the water. And the pier just
They own
attaches to
the
our,
structure.
they own the structure of the actual pier.
They want to donate the structure.
Correct. And it was donated, my understanding, it was donated to them from Sudlow Pier initially anyway.
That's definitely a problem. So, accepting the donation from the chamber?
I think so, yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the donation from the Jersey Falls Chamber of Commerce for the town, pier structure.
We have a motion about the town pier structure being donated from the Chamber of Commerce to the town, and we have a second. All in favor? So,
The last thing I have is, the RV park obviously has been annexed into the town as of January, late January. There was conversation about the town placing a tip on that property. I just need to know if you're wanting to move forward with that, or not, so that we can work on the process of getting that started.
Why would?
Initially, I was a little hesitant simply because there was, some questions that needed answered about, starting base value versus current base value. Now that the development is done, it just didn't start till after that, and all of that gain. But I've been assured by our friends at London Witty that that's not the case, that we can start from zero and capture all of the value prior to the start of construction, even if we establish the tip now. So that was my main concern.
and that's because it's not quite finished.
Correct. It's not quite finished, the acceptance hasn't occurred yet, et cetera.
Yeah, I don't know why we wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Is there anywhere? Is there any additional property that we could extend that to beyond their property?
That I would have to explore with Jim Higgins and those guys to see where the boundaries of the tip could actually extend through. If they could come down Huntington Street or in that general area.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we tip that, we don't, it's not like they put in town roads or anything, it's still all private property, so even with capturing those funds, how flexible would we be to use that outside that boundary?
Right, that was also another concern I had was, we're not assuming a whole lot of infrastructure, lift stations, some pipes, and a little bit of road. Is it worth capturing and isolating those dollars to that area, or just letting them come into the general fund to be spread around the town? So that's kind of the in and out of it. Do we want to isolate them, and how big can we make that area be? Even if, no matter how big you make it, it's still isolated for the lack of the tip.
Well,
can't spend it anywhere else.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think my understanding would be that we can't tip ground that's not ours, right? So we can't tip the surrounding area.
Correct.
The Elkhart County, or Grand Lot. So, yeah, our compost, we might be fairly confined. I'd be interested to know what else is available, if there's nothing else available. So,
my assumption is at best we can capture maybe Huntington Street coming down to 13, and that would be about it.
Yeah, I think that might be valuable down the road.
Yeah. And perhaps the apartments along the county line in that area, perhaps. I can explore a little further if you want to. Great. Okay. Okay. That's all I have.
I don't know. Can I go ahead?
You just call it random people?
Jim.
We can go however you wanna do it, sorry, it's just like, it's just an order,
Good, Jeff. Go ahead, Jeff.
All right, you've received a copy of my report, is there any questions?
You gotta dig through a file. I didn't have any questions when I read it.
No.
Okay. Next, there's been a question on opioid money, what we can do with it. After getting with KCO, talking to Heidi Blake there, here's the way it's gotta be distributed. The best, one of the things they recommended us to do is to give it, we can put the money into a fund for our SRO / DARE officers fund to help cover costs there. That's what Winona Lake currently does. And that's a recommendation they gave me. Otherwise, they've been trying to figure out ways to take the money upon themselves in order to distribute it. But I guess there's a lot of hurdles there. So you know, if we were to do it, the clerk would have to take the lead and distribute it to different people, which is a lot of work, a lot of time. So, and this is for the, funding that we received from the settlement through the state. So, and if we were to do that, I don't know, we'd probably have to open up a line item for that. Wouldn't we?
Yeah, I don't know, what do you want to do again?
Start a fund for the SRO/DARE program and put the money into that.
Basically, pay Joey out of that fund or partially out of that fund if you, that, Joey. I mean, yeah, so, cause he would be the acting, he's the SRO/DARE all the time. So if that money was somehow transferred from the opioid fund into an employee fund, or a general fund kind of line item, that you pay part of Joey's salary out of that.
And that would be instead of distributing it to different
Correct.
organizations or something.
Correct.
Okay.
Because he teaches there not only at Syracuse Elementary, but also, Milford Elementary.
Well, last year we took from the funds and distributed a few different.
Well, the wish of the council was to give the portion to Keiko, and they've been unable to figure out a way to distribute it. They wanted us to do it, and so that's why he's bringing Plan B, because Keiko just can't decide on the way to. They want us to do all of the legwork and the paperwork, and it's a rough bit. We would have to approve all the requests and vouchers and everything. And this seems a simpler way to still fulfill the intended function of the fund, because it's going toward drug prevention and recovery issues and things. So.
How many tranches of funding do we expect in the future?
From them, we've got at least 15 years coming. It's not, I mean, it's gonna be like, we get like $5,000 a year, essentially, for the next 15 years or so.
So we're only voting today on the funds that we have now, correct?
Funds now, and then I assume in the future, you know, unless you, I guess I would say all funds now and received in the future unless council changes decision. That's how I would word it, if you want to.
I don't wanna work that way,
Okay.
because easily this law forgot about, and 5 years from now, some need comes up, or some local organization that is targeting this kind of issue, we would maybe want those funds to go there. I think it's a good one to have a
Discussion every year.
I do. Because I think for now, I think that's a good fit.
Yeah, so so there's two versions, there's the restricted and unrestricted. The restricted ones are the ones we're talking about, the unrestricted we extend as we please. The restricted ones, we currently have $35,000 in the bank. And we get, like I said, we get a few thousand extra every year.
And are we using like a Homeland Security grant cup that cover the other half of his school?
No.
Get that, and
They-
they apply to an SRO or whatever?
No, they haven't received it, as far as I know, last couple of years for that purpose. And that's the conversation I need to have with the new superintendent when they appoint one.
So do we need to vote on this?
We need a motion on how, if you want it spent that way, how much of the $35,901 you want to spend.
I think it's important we put it to work. I mean, we've got him funded for the year right now, right?
Correct.
So, if we put it to that, what's the hurry? You know, I mean, I think that will we find something else to do with it? Maybe, maybe not. But there's not a funding need there right now.
Yeah, I think the expectation, from the state is that it be appointed somewhere, not just sitting there talking, and not spent or unobligated.
Yeah, I just feel like my expectation for elected officials
that, just get it out there and send it as fast as possible.
The SRO is probably paid on a school year calendar.
No, he's
No.
year-round
Oh,
officer,
he's
so he gets
year-round.
paid, he gets paid the same as everybody else. He's out of school, he's working on it.
Yeah, we're paying them.
Outside of that, am I missing anything, Jim, things that, am I reading that right? You don't necessarily need it right this minute, or even,
No, it would just offset his salary.
And you talked about supplies and things
And
like that.
supplies for Dare.
is there a project in place where this money would be helpful?
Well, every year they have their graduations. I can get with him. I know he purchases T-shirts, that we've been purchasing for the graduates.
I would like to challenge you and him to get together, put your heads together and say, hey, we've got these funds that could enhance what you're doing. What could we do to be more impactful?
Yeah, I mean, we can, yeah, I can definitely talk to him, see what else might be out there. But,
And I don't expect you don't come up with anything, there's no condition on that. I just wonder if he's thinking outside the box, or even just the discussion that we're having now, somebody might say, hey, this would be really nice, or this would work somewhere else.
and other than his duties at the school, he also, obviously teaches there, which is multi-weeks, teaches at 2 schools, so that's where a lot of the time goes. Just teaching there. I mean, not all through the school year, but with this grant, if there are other supplies he could use for that program, I'd have to get with him.
That's just being, where you guys are.
I had only been contacted last year by one other organization about the wholesale money. And to help the kids get there. A good thing, if we get some of this money and put it in their account,
Mm-hmm.
then they would spend some money there, currently spending on the SRO, on something else. You would. I'm not following that.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I would assume that, money is, otherwise, it just sits in the general fund and goes to our house, we just draw less out of the general fund for his salary. If it was part of that.
And we don't have to do it this month. So if they talk and come back
Yeah.
this month.
Okay. We can do that. The only other thing I have is we have offered a conditional offer of employment to a candidate pending perf approval. He's scheduled to go to his perf exam on the 28th, so right after that we should know, within a couple of weeks. So,
Good.
all right, that's all I have.
Yeah.
You wanna go to Mark now?
Sorry.
Randomly my turn. Talked about earlier, did the proclamation, Arbor Day is this Friday, 24th, 1 to 2:30 at the Schrock Athletic Complex. We'll be joined by, Lilly Center for Lakes and Streams, Grace College, and the Cosgetzel Soil and Water Conservation District, and the 3rd graders from Syracuse Elementary School. Except if it rains, then we'll have to drop back a month, but, we'll see what happens. So, that was the discussion today, what happens if it rains and what do we do, so, we'll see. But that's the current plan for this Friday. Park-wise, just a couple upcoming things, not a whole lot of them is in my report that, came from the board meeting, but Farmers Market, opens on May 16th. I do have a couple more seasonal vendors than we did last year already, so hopefully it's a good year for that. And then, we keep saying we've got all these softball tournaments. We've had 2 of them canceled so far. So our first tournament is scheduled for the first weekend in May, the 2nd. We'll see if that one actually goes. The first 2 were canceled due to weather, so, we'll go from there. But
Everybody's excited about the pickleball court.
there's been a lot of use there. 2 Sundays ago, it was very busy, so. Yeah, Kristen was at our picture a couple days, last Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, K-21 happy. Any other questions for me?
I don't have any questions.
Thanks, guys.
Mark?
Any questions on my report?
Guys been busy.
A little bit. A little bit. We are losing our water foreman again. So I have I reached out to four, three got back, contract operators got back with me. I got quotes from two. Services by Scouter is the lowest one, and that is who we use when John Robinson's office as well, who we're very familiar with them. And the additional services, if we needed them for emergency situations. So they are low bidder, and I would ask to have a contract signed for $16,350 for a 6-month contract with the option to extend it to January. And that is discounted because we are a return customer.
I'll make that motion.
He just Bill made it. Bill, two.
Oh, no.
You second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second for the, $16,350.
$16,350.
All in favor? Then you have some other things.
I do. The filters that process every drop of drinking water that comes to the town went in new in 2008, and they are due for a complete rehab. We received a quote for $400 from the manufacturer 1 year ago. We've been working through details and logistics on how we would do that. David suggested maybe that had to go to closed bid because of the price. We're working with Commonwealth now to get a package together for them to close bid that. We don't have that here tonight. But I would like to have $500,000 made available for that process. I'm sure the price has gone up significantly in the last year. From capital funding, part of the $6 million already allocated to David's purposes, forward to have the $500,000 out of capital funding. We would wait till them, but we'd like to get all our ducks in a row now. Fall and winter will be here much too soon.
Yeah.
You certainly got past the winter.
We just put the plows away last week.
So we need a motion for $500,000 capital improvement.
Capital improvement fund towards the filter rehabilitation.
I make that motion. But just to be clear, what are our other options?
There really aren't any. We could rebuild one valve at a time, we could add sand, we could add anthracite. But until you suck all that sand out, it gradually loses its filtering ability and its effectiveness. It's called green sand, and it's strictly for the removal of oxidized iron and manganese. And when that green sand loses its ability to do that, you can add and add and add, and still see a gradual loss of water quality. So before we see that loss of water quality, it's time. We have added sand and anthracite, but it's till you get out all of the old sand, it loses its ability. So
We got 18 years out of that rehab the last time.
well, it's 2008 to now, so 18 years.
So it's really a low extent over the time.
Yeah, they have done excellent service as well. And if we do expand, we're gonna need our filters at peak efficiency.
He did. Okay, we have a motion and a second, and I already repeated that, so all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
That's all I have, unless council has anything else for me.
I did have one question on your report. So item one, you said we've been sending letters to area residents concerning some pumps that are getting sewer. This is a major contributor.
Yes.
To some issues we've had and not permissible. So, for me, I don't know how this works. So you're the guy, how do you know who's hooked up their sump pump to the system that?
When the resident comes up and says, my washer is overflowing, and I said, it only overflows when your sump pump runs, right? Well, yeah. We experienced a great rush of water, and when that hangs around days after rainfall, that's coming out of the ground. And if our influent at the wastewater plant, we're still 190% of normal flow from our last rain. That's sump pump. That's it. Leaky pipe, sump pump. I do have a map here that used to sit here for many years. I'm sure Paul has seen it. I got it. This is all the clay pipe in your system. Right in here is where we're getting the sump pumps. And up in the Stuckey addition, we have sump pumps. That's all 2-foot sections of clay pipe, subject to cracking, root intrusion. So I did a study right here. So go in and line all of this and coat all the manholes, just this section. $2 million. So I'm hoping to put $200,000 a year into the most needy sections. You're looking at 50 years. It's been there since 1965 for the most part. Some 1943. Obviously, that's where we would start lining the pipe. But that's our next direction.
That would be the same process that we did over off of Huntington.
On Branch. Correct. Made brand new pipe on it.
That's
Brand new.
fast and unintrusive, right?
Yeah, neighbors wouldn't even know we were doing it. Versus digging up the entire neighborhood and, yeah. So that is our path forward in wastewater. The 2027 budget, when Virginia and I get together on that, we'll swap some funding from the plant, which we've made great strides in already, and we'll apply those monies towards the collection system and lining. We'll be able to use some stormwater funding for that as well. Much stormwater work to do as well. That's all I have.
Okay.
I promise.
50 years.
Thank you.
Thank you. Quinn's turn. Fire department. Yes.
You good? You guys have my report there for about a week and a half. You have any questions on that?
I don't have any questions on your report, but I do have one question for you. The storage container that's behind the training center?
Yes.
Is that county changed some of the rules for storage containers?
I just read up on that, and I need to investigate that a little bit more. Yeah. So, yeah, I just recently saw that as well. So, I was gonna have 2 items for you guys to vote on. In my reports, you guys had a lot of attachments for some equipment with the ladder truck as well that we're gonna take out of equipment replacement. Cindy knows this, that the fire territory board, the township board decided to use our capital improvement funds for those purchases. So I only have one thing for you guys to vote on tonight. And that is a replacement helmet out of our equipment replacement, in our gear replacement line item. Our deputy chief went to a live fire instructor course, last month where they did 26, live fire burns over 3 days. It was very intensive. Unfortunately, his, helmet took the, brunt of that, and it is not gonna be operational any longer. So we've kind of learned our lesson with that. When we send people to this class from now on, they're going with older helmets. It wouldn't normally be an issue, except he's got a white helmet, and we don't have white helmets sitting around. So I have a quote from Whitmer Public Safety for $414.90. I said delivery by, I think it was May 19th is your guys' next meeting. However, I believe it'll be here within 21 days. So, and we do presently have $22,597 still left in that gear replacement line.
I need a motion, if we don't have any more questions, for $414.98. Helmet? What do you guys think?
I'll make the motion.
Have a motion, we have a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second, all in favor? Opposed?
So, on this quote, though, there's something that you have to Virginia, or maybe, Mark, there's a tariff notice on here, so it's my understanding that now you can apply for rebates on tariffs that were paid. We have any significant tariffs that we've paid in the last 12 months that we might want to try and get paid for if we can? Are you aware of anything off the top of your head that, or like shocking, like you, Mark, or Chief?
My policy, or town policy is, buy American first, and we are, extremely diligent in that. The sheriff had,
My policy was all zeros, so I mean, that's good, I'm just curious if there maybe was something that we did. Okay.
Nope.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you to David and Chief too for coming over for our push-in ceremony for our ladder truck, late last month. We really appreciate them being there, so.
No.
They started the engine.
We're gonna jump back up to number 4, approval of minutes. March 17th.
So I found a discrepancy, at the end of page 1, it says, Larry Siegel asked how confident we are in the London Woody Group. That was actually me. And where it says Nathan Shear stated we are very confident with the London Woody Group, that was actually Larry. Yeah, really. The bottom, it's all in the bottom left.
so with these changes, I make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
We have a motion to accept the minutes with 2 changes, swapping the names for the March 17th, 2026 meeting. All in favor? Aye. Anybody have any question on the claims before we?
Your favorite part, Paul, from time to time?
Number 2.
This is my motion.
Claim number 298, 423. Yep, we need a motion to accept the claim number 298 to.
Make that motion.
Hey, thank you. Do I have a second? Do I have a second? All in favor of approving the claim? Aye. Opposed? He is.
My motion.
Okay, I've done a public hearing for a couple of years. What do I do?
So you just need to say that you're opening public hearings on the Redstone tax abatement request. And then, public has right to be heard, to even, be up to address you, and then we have, open it up to public comment and then close it.
Thank you. We were here last month for the preliminary resolution, and I tried to fill you in at that point. Refreshing recollections on the copy of the site plan. You can see what things look like. If you'll recall, back in 2021, for the rehabilitation of the old school, Redstone came in and said, we want to do this. And at that point, it was about the only use that anybody had proposed for that building. The use for an old school building is questionable at best. allowed the council to designate an economic development target area because of the unique nature of the structure that was being rehabilitated. That rehabilitation's been complete. The project was, probably an unanticipated excess of success and has now served the community quite well. With the designation of all of the land that was part of the old school complex, there was a significant amount of vacant area that was either grassy area or old parking lot. And Ridgestone looked at that and said, it makes sense to continue the development of these apartments by constructing new buildings in that economic development target area that would create 42 more units at market prices and essentially require no investment from the town. All of the infrastructure is either in place or would be installed by Ridgestone during the development. Older parking lots removed, some of them removed, some of them rehabilitated, but you can see the plan there. And I highlighted the building location in yellow. It was kind of hard to pick out where the buildings were on that site plan. Variances have been obtained from the Board of Zoning Appeals for the parking and for multifamily use. Right now, there's one item remaining, and that is a variance from the Drainage Board, because at one point, one building would be 59 feet from the edge or the bank of the drainage ditch, and we have to be 75 feet. Would not anticipate any problem with that reduction in light of where that open ditch is and what's surrounding it. It will still have plenty of room for access if it's necessary to clean it. So the proposal, which was preliminarily adopted last month, was to approve a 10-year tax abatement on this residential development. It's unusual to be able to encourage developers to come in with that type of residential development, because under normal circumstances, there is no tax abatement available. So you don't have an incentive that you could offer to a developer. But because this was already designated as an economic development target area, that is available. We're looking at, if you look at the numbers, an investment of $3.5 million in these three buildings and the appurtenances for the buildings. It's not a great job creator. It'll create 3 jobs at a total salary of $125,000, but that's normal. What it does do is create 42 more living units. Marlon, correct me if I'm wrong, some 2-bedroom, some 3-bedroom?
These will actually all be 2-bedroom.
All 2-bedroom.
Which is our, these will be 2, 1.5. There's a bathroom on the main level, full bathroom upstairs.
So these will contribute significantly to the housing shortage in the community. We know from talking to all the employers, that housing shortage is one of the biggest problems in obtaining and retaining employees in the area. Marlon can tell you what's going on at the old Polarcraft site, that with the rehabilitation that's taken place there, it's now up to 90% occupancy with roughly 200 employees in that facility from various people who are leasing space in that industrial area. So every time we do that successfully, we create additional demand for housing. So what we're proposing, as I indicated, was a 10-year abatement on the typical sliding scale, and that would start at the value of the land right now, when the improvements are completed, which would be by August of 27. And those hit the tax rolls, and that abatement would be effective 100% for the first year, and then a sliding scale going down for that 10-year period. It's a great opportunity, in my opinion, to secure additional residential housing. Whether it's going to be single-family sales units or rental units, the demand is there. Right now, you've got a waiting list committees of the school. So, we know it's out there. When the school was done, they were all leased before they were finished. I would expect that this would be something similar when you look at the proximity it has to the town's major employers, whether they're on Hollywood Way or Railroad Avenue or Chicago Street. It's close to all of them to a great extent, within walking distance of all of them, which is one more. So we're asking you to sign the confirmatory resolution tonight. Once that's signed, it gets recorded, and construction can begin at the planned beginning date, which is August.
Are these buildings gonna be sprinkled?
Yes.
I'll second.
You need that.
You say what that is?
Oh, public comment, that's right. Do we have any public comment?
If not, we'll be hearing.
Yeah. Closing the hearing. And,
I just can make a motion.
okay,
I come back to sign resolution number 2026-5.
we have a motion on the floor and a second to approve 2026-5, approving a economic development. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you. If you will email a copy to me, I'll take care of recording it.
Really appreciate you guys and how helpful you've been. It's not like this everywhere. No. And I just want you guys to know that. We appreciate the investment. Yeah, thank you. It helps a lot to expedite things, so we're excited about it. It's over. Thank you.
See you, Marlon.
Yeah, thanks.
So we're going to number 10. Ordinance 2026-03. Continued right to farm. This is one we've been talking about for a while. We asked Dave to put this together.
Well, all I really had to do was make the last change to it, which was the size of the parcel, which I was asked. This original was one created by the folks down at Seabunger. Yeah. Seabunger.
And that size is adequate for the park station.
Yeah, the Meyer property is about 3.5. So that captures them and the Natalie property.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2026-06.
We have a motion to adopt ordinance 2026-03 in a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Number 11 is ordinance 2026-04 to transfer appropriations for the park system. I had a question, but I just asked her. Do we have, did you understand this one? Any questions on it?
That was a motion to approve ordinance 2026-04. Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second to approve ordinance 2026-04. It's to transfer some appropriations for the parks department. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, the next one. We've been talking about changing the meeting time, and I talked to Ted, either after the meeting or on the phone, or something on the phone.
We talked to each other on the phone, we were talking about it before.
You did, okay. So if we had that, if we started the meeting on a Tuesday at 4,
It
we
would,
would have,
so don't you, I got cut you off.
you would have to leave at 5:15.
I had to leave by 5:15 to get to the Cromwell meeting at 5:30, as they are currently scheduled.
I don't know what time you guys are thinking of that. Too early.
That makes for short meeting. Well, I think in light of the conditions, I think it's worth considering.
No, we need to vote tonight.
Yeah, that's fine.
Any thoughts?
No.
Bill, any thoughts on the meeting time?
Didn't really go over very well. I know we have to work with Dave's schedule, but basically, I'm open to any time.
An earlier time.
Earlier, yeah. Not
Yeah,
later.
fortunately.
Okay, we will continue to think on this.
Okay.
Good
Is that
idea.
okay? Number 13, discussion regarding ordinance fee. This is something I think that Larry had asked,
Yeah, there,
we all did, but Larry had a question.
there were questions about, recouping town expenses for mowing lawns and when reports due. So I went back and looked at that, I shared, table with you. Mark's office was able to, it was a good thought, we were trying to figure out what a market rate is, and so we kind of went with, what rental companies are charging for equipment, and we kind of based our numbers off of that. And so, giving suggestions on, rental prices for equipment, 2-hour minimum, and then employee charge time, we used, the street superintendent, foreman's, salary as a basis, as he's the highest paid employee, as that would be the hourly charge per employee, and a 2-hour minimum on each employee that's, at the site working on it. So with that said, those are the prices that I shared with you, and that's kind of our recommendation. If you want to change the ordinance to those rates, that's what we'll proceed with charging if we have to, do any sort of work like that going forward.
And you're happy with how it came out?
Yeah, I'm satisfied with it. I think Mark's satisfied with it, more than covers their costs. So we would be made whole and then probably a little bit above that.
Satisfactory, that's fine.
We don't really have to vote on it.
Yeah, I probably need a motion to approve these new prices and include it in the handbook.
Okay, did you all have a chance to look at what it said? Yeah, I did.
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance fees as presented. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance fees as they were presented to us. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Capital project funding.
Again. Okay, so we're at the finish line. Council has to make a decision tonight regarding at least the boardwalk. The deadline is now. You have to decide whether you're going to fund it and how much. And so I can let Captain know that you've approved it or not approved it, so that they can move forward with their activities. The ready people as well are waiting on a decision. So I've kind of shared 3 different cost estimates with you on how much, the 3 different versions of the boardwalk would cost the town. you have any questions on those?
Don't have my packet from the meeting to you. Run me through these estimates, give me the highlights. What are you doing?
Okay, Bill checked out, so I can.
I almost brought it from that special meeting we had.
Sorry, gotta find the right one. There we go. Okay, so, that's basically the highlighted in yellow would be what the town's responsibility would be with each version of the boardwalk and how it would be built. Sorry. Maybe just do a nice comfortable size terminal.
So the approximate 2 million that we would have to match is more of a raised.
Yeah, so the original estimate was the top line, that is the Taj Mahal of the boardwalk. That is the highest level that they designed. It's more of an elevated boardwalk at that point, and
And it looks like a boardwalk.
it looks like a boardwalk, correct. The middle one is the one I've been kind of working off of. That's kind of a cross between, a sidewalk and an elevated boardwalk. It's a little bit of both. And then the last one is the revised pricing that they came up with after you asked us to revisit it. And in all honesty, option 3 is basically a asphalt sidewalk at this point. I'm not in favor of it at any stretch.
At grade.
Yeah, grade, yeah. So, my recommendation is if you wanna go with option 3 is to not fund the project, because it's not going to do anything to enhance the village. It's going to be basically just extending a, access road, making it wider. That doesn't do a lot for pedestrian safety. So my recommendation obviously is that I'd love to see the top one. The middle one is my recommendation. The compromise, like if you choose the option 3 as the best route, then my recommendation is to just pass at this point.
But option 2 was a raised walkway.
Portion of
Curved
it.
or whatever.
Yeah, it's close, it's less, it's not as close to the access road, and some portions of it are raised, or the ditch, some of it is at grade.
If we chose the first option, which was the boardwalk,
Then
we can afford or whatever.
we can, it would just take some.
Can we do that in stages? With the grants and whatever?
Probably, that would be more expensive, because you'd have to rebid and remobilize, and your cost would have to.
My opinion is boardwalk is really the best look for what we could do. Unfortunately, the expense,
Right.
maybe more than we can spend, but
And it is,
we need to consider that, because I think the trails are so nice, and I think we should try to get that same mode, if possible.
I think there's a couple of things here. One is, the trails are used a lot in our area when I drive around. People everywhere. And we've talked about the village, what we can do to make it, to enhance that. But we also want it to be safe. And so I would definitely be for it. I think what you just said, the top one would be wonderful, but I don't know if we're going to spend $2 million, but if it's there for a long, long time. But the second one might be good.
I'll harken back to the comprehensive plan. I've got both laying here, one's from 2006, one's from 2017. They're essentially identical. So the conversations have been the same in the community for the last 20 years. And virtually nothing has been done. So this is kind of like I don't know if it's a starting point, but it is a big part of the comprehensive plan, to get the village kind of upgrades, if you will. You know, that's the master vision of the town and the council, which has been outlined in the comprehensive plan. I've been through many comprehensive plans in my life, in my career, and we spend a lot of time and effort, community members, council, everybody puts in hours and hours and hours of endless work and meetings, and pays thousands of dollars to have these written, and then they go through it. And nobody ever does anything with it. And these were literally on drawer line items. So, I'm trying to move the needle forward. This is a big list, I understand. But, as a community, do we want something that enhances the community, or would you?
Well, my opinion is, we want to enhance the community. I just don't think that the long-term maintenance cost of a true boardwalk is really going to make the difference versus some of the hybrid plans that we looked at that could be done really well. And so for me, I'm more in favor of the hybrid option 2, far less expensive. If we decide we want to dress it up more, then at least there's some room. I look at the boardwalk that goes through Conklin Bay, and that thing is heaving and moving nonstop, and with a maintenance challenge. And I don't think that we want to do that as a town. I know that part of this is a little bit more of a comprehensive structure that maybe would help some of the maintenance costs, but I think it's going to be, I'm concerned about scope creep with that, and it being far more expensive than what is proposed. A lot of unknowns, but so for me personally, I'm in favor of option 2.
So we would need to vote on this?
Yes, you need to vote whether you're gonna move forward with the project, so that I can let the council know.
I'd entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve boardwalk pricing, $860,000 town match.
We have a motion for original estimate 2 with the town match being 8 and 8.
That's an approximate number.
A lot of money, yeah, approximate number. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Do we need to talk about the stoplights or anything else? No.
I don't think we can talk about that unless you want to.
No.
Okay.
I just drive around looking. Who would have ever known I drive around looking at stoplights? So let's just talk about stoplights for a minute.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. So, again, part of the comprehensive plan is to try to reduce the overhead clutter in the village. Burying the lines is just not gonna happen. That's tens and twenties of millions of dollars. And so, what we can do is reduce some of it at the stoplight intersection. Currently, the stoplights in there are suspended style. They have multiple wires that hold them up. The idea is to change them to the cantilever style, which is the same as uptown at Main Street, which is basically just an arch pole. There's no wires, there's a lot less sightline problems and visuals. It cleans up the visuals. So that's the stoplight project, is to change out the 3 in the village to the cantilever style. So it would get rid of some of the overhead clutter.
Is the cost of doing a more decorative cantilever, have you looked at what that is?
Yeah, or it's about $900,000. INDOT will not do it because what they've got's already there, and they're happy with it. They said, you know, you can change them, we'll allow you to change them, but you're
No, I'm just talking about more decorative rather than the one that's up.
Oh, yeah, I mean, there's probably other options, you know.
Well, I know there is, I'm just asking if you've looked at it.
No, I have not, we just got pricing on cantilever, that's what the
If you
engineer.
buy something, I'd rather look at something that's not galvanized and look at something that's more in other communities.
Right, and that's, the engineers just looked at it based on that when they did their
So
study.
you want them to bring back a couple of them?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be
Bring
great.
back some ideas.
I think it's a worthwhile project, yeah, it's not a lot in terms of, it's a very specific project, but I think you couple this with we have a boardwalk, then we start to put in the foundation to build around that and really make some good changes, so.
Okay, I do that.
I'm trying to think of some communities off the top of my head that have them, but I'm sure you've seen them, they're typically they're black.
Yep.
Gary knows what I'm talking about.
So if you go up with Wisconsin, their complex is highways. So I don't know if they're not even allowed that, but they mount them on the side and point them out, it's a little weird looking.
It's like a deal of cost, right?
Yeah,
I've gone to the question.
Spend a lot of time in Kenosha when my zoning comes and they're all over there.
Steve, is there anything else with
The other,
project?
yeah, the other thing on there is the gateway signs, I know Nate got revised pricing, that's the only other project really. It was like 5,000 less, I think, than the original estimate. So yeah, it's just kind of, pending, we got a couple of prices.
So we'll look at those again.
Yeah, I mean, really the cost driver came with the base. So we use the existing base on the south of the town, so, that is that service that we're looking for as far as location.
I mean, I really don't know where to take out of it, it's how it comes down to matter of council to move forward with it or not.
So I think we're back down to number 17, correct? The treasurer report.
Correct.
Any questions? My report? Also, getting back to,
It's good to see the six. Report.
I was wondering if the council will approve, pay app number 1 for the 2025 CCMG, project. It was not missed, it was, late to still adopt it this month, but we do need to pay it this month. So I was just wondering if the council could just approve it.
Is that in here? Or is this something you just, okay, I found.
How much?
It was on Commonwealth.
Oh, that's right.
I just need approval.
How much?
Circle that.
It's, 500.
7730
Well, there's,
160.
This is the 2025 CCMG. Approved a application number 1.
If I may. Can you read better? Better, yeah. Oh, now we got a different number.
I can't read it any better than I could the last one.
Can we just say the 2025 CCMG approved pay up?
520. Because you guys have. $543,793.
Make that motion. Okay.
What it says, what it says? Okay, we have a motion on the floor.
I'll second.
And a second. For the 2025 CCMG, $543,793.30. All in favor? Okay.
I've got a question for you, Virginia. Is it possible to include in your reports permits granted?
The what?
Permits granted over the course of the month? That'd be great, thank you.
That's a good idea. If we need to. You just have Matt do it. Okay, town attorney report.
My contributions have been a thing this month, so I missed.
Any public comments from the floor on non-agenda items? 2 minutes per speaker. Discussion from the council. Old business. I just have one thing that's new business, I guess, to approve Tom Kaplan for the BCA. I just think I disappointed. I talked with him, he attended the meeting.
Yes, he did.
Without 30 hours. So that's what I'm, do you have anything? Okay, we have a motion to adjourn and a second. Thank you. We got through it.